to another episode of Unfiltered and Unscripted on Notoriously Opinionated. It's your man that goes by many names and monikers. Tonight, you see it right there. See that? That right there. Call me Scrap. And there's a reason why I'm definitely going by Scrap tonight. And it's one of those, if you know, you know. And if you don't, get out the way. Here's where I'm going. And this is just where I'm gonna lead it off with 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Like, for real, 1,000 bottles of baby oil. If you know, you know. If you don't, move out the way. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not saying nothing else. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Like, what exactly was the plan for 1,000 bottles of baby oil? I'm struggling. I'm struggling, and I'm not struggling to try to figure it out. I'm struggling to stop thinking about it. That's what I'm struggling with. Now, here's the thing. The only more, comical thing other than 1,000 bottles of baby oil, and the thing that I just can't get out of my mind is this: like, how would you feel, right? Let's take this into consideration, right? Like, there's few things more important to a convict than competition, right? Like, everything is a competition. I don't care whether it's who can spit the furthest, who's the fastest, but it's two things. Like, your sporting competitions, softball, basketball, football, track. Those are important things. Is people that got stabbed and fatally wounded over whose team you decided that you was gonna be on. Like, if you go to prison and people find out that you was a five-star athlete, and you go to prison and you decide you not gonna be on my basketball team, bruh, I hope one of those 5 stars was in boxing, because you about to get harassed like incessantly. It's going down. Like, it's some cats. It's like, bro, you're gonna be on my team or you not playing basketball ever. You dig? And that's how serious it gets. The only other thing that can rival the seriousness of basketball tournaments, softball tournaments, track events, and things like that is the talent show. So the talent show is a serious deal in prisons, right? And I'm saying all that to say this: like, the only dude that is probably just as mad about R. Kelly and Diddy coming to their correctional facility is like, so imagine being the dude in FCI Butner Medium facility, right? And you have won the talent competition for the last 3 or 4 years, right? And you thinking you about to go on your 5th consecutive run of winning the FCI Butner Medium talent show, and then they put the drop sheet up, and you see Robert R. Kelly on the drop sheet, and then he comes to your facility talking about he gonna enter the next talent show. I know he was mad as hell. He had to be. It's like, this Negro done won Grammys. He's a multi-platinum selling artist. And what you want to get into talent? Hey, man, If you don't go over there and sit down, all he gotta do get up there and just sing 12 play. He gonna win. Like he gonna win. Like who's gonna beat R. Kelly in the? Who's gonna beat R. Kelly? And just imagine, wherever the hell Diddy get sent, right? This fool he's a platinum selling artist, a platinum selling producer. Whatever New York facility that this fool gets sent to, whoever has been winning the talent shows before Diddy get there, he about to be hot. So other than this 1,000 bottles, I can only imagine what it's like to be those I'm not even gonna try to imagine what it's like to be them individuals. But I'll tell you this, 1,000 bottles is crazy. R. Kelly and Diddy getting in prison talent shows is even crazier. But I digress. Let's go. All right. Tonight. So I kicked it off with a little bit of levity because the topic that I'm discussing tonight is multi-layered, and there's no way on God's clear or green earth, whatever you believe, is there a way that I could cover this in one night? I don't care if I got all my partners on here. Right. There's no way that I would be able to cover everything about these topics in one night. And these topics are talking about criminalization, incarceration, and post-release. Right. And a lot of times we don't really think about how everything is criminalized. But I got a brother on here that's going to help me out with this topic tonight. And he needs no introduction. However, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Go.
I am Ndugu Mustafa Keita Nkosi Durrell Lamont 2X to the third power. That means that I am the brother who has been chosen to be a warrior and a governor for the rights of each and every person that's on the planet. I'm twice as good as I was before, 3 times over, mentally, physically, and spiritually. But my mama calls me Durrell.
But my mama called me Durrell. I'm just saying, like the first part of it was like 45 seconds, and then, but my mama called me Durrell.
Hey, most of my friends call me Hollywood, so there it is.
Now that's Durrell I know, but my mama called me Durrell. Scrap called me Hollywood. All right, so here's the thing, man. This is not a topic that needs to be taken lightly, but kind of what I wanted to kick it off with tonight. There have been a series of injustices that have gone on, not just across the nation, but in the state of Missouri, as well as the state of Kansas and every other state in these so-called United States. There was an event that happened yesterday that I believe is tragic. Brother named Marcellus Williams was, in my opinion, murdered. Right. He was executed for a crime that apparently not even the victim's family felt that he committed, and they didn't show up to the execution. They didn't support it. They even said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they even said that they did not want him to be executed.
Yes, most definitely. Yesterday was a tragic day, not just for the family of the young man, not just for the young man himself, but also for justice, because there were millions of people who were, sending messages to the governor's office to say, hey, this was unjust. But the way the system rolls, I mean, once they decided it's something that they're going to do, it's very difficult, as you know, to get them to retract where the truth is a part of it. And I think that's some of the things that messes with us so psychologically, because you can see the truth right before you to say, this is incorrect. This should not be done. And someone says, well, hey, we got a system that's got to roll regardless of that. I mean, we can go all the way back to courtrooms, because one of the issues with that also as well is that there was evidence that was being withheld by the very people who tried him in the first place. And then for you to find out that the very evidence that was used to hold against him could have been that which to exonerate him, and you still say, nah, I'm going to continue. When you have other cases, we know several of our friends that have witnesses to come and say, I'm going to retract that statement because of this or that. And they say, well, even though you did that and what you're saying could be true, we already got this thing rolling. And there was a period of time when they were trying to give the brother a reprieve, saying, okay, we're going to give him a chance. Let's get some kind of stay of execution. Let's think about this thing over and over. But I mean, from the time that it took less than 30 days for them to even decide, well, we thought about it, but no, we're going to go ahead and go on with the execution. And so I guess it's like sometimes when you put money into a thing and that money is starting to generate, and then you say, well, I should just let this 401k or just let whatever this is, just go a little further to see how much more we can get out of it. Because if I pull out now, I'm not going to really lose anything, but I'm not going to have as much as I had if I kept going with it. So, when you talk about social economics, a lot of that plays with the part of this too. I mean, hey, if I can allow this to happen, then it might set a precedent for others. You know that if you get caught up in something, we will kill you. So if you want to continue to do what you're doing, we're going to let you know. I don't care how many people cry. We don't care about all the little petitions that you sign. If we decide that this is what we're going to do, we'll take your life.
And that's how they, and Missouri is one of the few states that are still executing people. But at the same time, you were absolutely correct. One of the things that I remember reading was, and this is one of the things that historically, and I'm speaking as a certified paralegal, like one of the ways that it's like an automatic overturn of your case is if there's something dealing with your jury instructions, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that came up during this trial was something in regards to the jury and the jury instructions. Still no action. I never understood that. It's like they wanted him to get this, like he wanted him to go down from the beginning, and I don't know. I don't know how different St. Louis is from Kansas City, but the criminal injustice system is the criminal injustice system wherever you are. So I think one of my other issues, not just with this particular thing, but just with the over criminalization of especially black men. Now, I'm not saying that we the only ones to get over criminalized. We just got the longer history of it, So one of the other things would be what I tell people all the time, right? Like the last thing that you want to be is incarcerated and going through something during an election season. Like the brother had 2 stages of execution in, I want to say 15 and 17, right? Neither was an election season. Mm-hmm. Neither was an election year, right? When you're talking about the presidential election, I don't care if you a Democrat, I don't care if you a Republican, it doesn't matter. 2 fangs of the same snake. And then you got the back fangs being the libertarians, like Ron Paul's fake ass, and then you got the other one being independents. Independence is like they the ones that, I don't know. I got a thing when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't that smart.
It's just different fangs of the snake. You know what I'm saying? But when you're talking about those main two fangs of the snake, you're talking about the Democrats and the Republicans. I wouldn't care who it is. The in my opinion, in my notorious opinion, they can take it or leave it, but it goes like this. Like, my opinion is, people aren't elected into, especially the presidential public office, to change anything. They're elected because the people know that they're not going to change anything. They're getting elected because they know that they are not going to change anything. We're not putting you in this position and giving you all this power so that you can change anything. We're putting you in this position and giving you this power so that we can puppetize your butt, because we know you gonna fall in line, So that's kind of, we got some, oh man, I've been neglecting the comments. So we got a few comments here. All right, what's up, fellas? Man, good luck for tuning in tonight, man. So the money men hold, real rap. So shout out to the fellas, man, and but that's kind of my take on it. It's just, these people are not being put in office to change anything. They're not coming in to they may pump you up with all this criminal justice reform all they want, but they are being put in office to keep things exactly how they are.
Yeah. Well, I know you two asked a question about the current system of incarceration, the current justice system, whatever. That's one of the things that, I was speaking to a person a couple of days ago, and they said, hey, we keep on saying that the justice system is broken and it's not working. The justice system is not broken.
It's working.
It's working exactly how it's put down from the 13th Amendment forward. Yeah. It's working exactly how it's supposed to be.
Working exactly how it's supposed to.
And so what I want to say, with both of us being Missouri natives, being from Kansas City and being from Missouri, there's only been five executions, murders, executions in this country this year. 2 of them happened yesterday, one in Texas, and as you know, the brother in Missouri. It's awful ironic that the state that we're from has hosted 3 executions this year, and we're not even 10 months in. So we're not even a year in. So 3 have come out of Missouri. So we need to be asking the question, what's going on in the state of Missouri? Usually you have this type of stuff that's going on in California, Louisiana. You have this in New York, upstate, place like this. But we're talking about right here in the Bible Belt of Missouri. What's going on? So that's one of my questions, because it is working exactly the way it's supposed to be.
The governor, the president of Missouri, okay. And again, it goes back to the fact that in 15 and 17, it wasn't election cycles. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so now you're talking about 24. We're going into a presidential election cycle. He don't want to get ostracized by his party. He may have aspirations of doing something more grandiose in the future. And you cannot, absolutely positively cannot look like you are weak on crime. I don't care if you are the furthest left Democrat that there is. I don't care if you are a moderate Republican, a liberal Republican. I don't care. You cannot, during an election season, when you got a Republican and a Democrat banging it out, look like you soft on crime, because what you do reflects your candidate, right? So I'm gonna go with the governor being the problem, as he has tended to be over his whole term, So that's my notorious opinion.
Well, again, I'm glad that you're saying these are opinions. So one of the verses, since we're talking about the Bible belt.
Bible belt, yeah.
It says the wages of sin is death. So with this being the case, we also have to look at the other side of the coin as well. I mean, how much responsibility are we taking? Because if we're talking about executions, the state done executions. What about the execution that we're doing in the state of Missouri, specifically St. Louis and Kansas City, to ourselves? And I'm not talking about just blacks. I'm talking about neighbors against neighbors. I mean, I watch crime wars. I see how the neighbor wars, how they fight against each other. So we put ourselves in a vicarious position in the fact that we create these type of situations, promote these type of situations, love these type of situations. And then when someone takes our lives, then we say, oh man, come on. Another thing, if we're talking about justice being truth in action, if justice is truth in action, this is why, there can't be any justice, because we take the truth and we'll do something different with it. But if justice truly is truth in action, we have to be truthful with ourselves. Again, we have Missouri, the state of Missouri, just based on those two places, St. Louis and California, and Chicago, California, St. Louis and Kansas City. I mean, our crime rate is just like notorious. It's just like way out there. And then we get to sit around and brag about the fact that how many bodies we got and all that. And then again, when, as one of our astute people used to say, when the chicken come home to roost, when something happens to us, then we're like, man, that's not cool. That's crazy. That's messed up. But even when you're talking about just incarceration period, how many of us, you talked about Diddy earlier, you talked about R. Kelly earlier. One of the things that I have difficulty with is how we promote rap and hip hop so much, which I love it, came from the beginning, love it to death. But then when we promote this type of lifestyle to continue directly to prison and to get you executed, if someone speaks against that, then the first thing you want to do is pull out your different weapons and everything and take my life because I'm trying to do something to save your children. So with that being the case, I mean, we got both sides of this thing that we got to pay attention to. Another thing I want to say, when I was saying the truth, if justice is truth in action, one of the things that about this brother, if you read his final statement, one of my big brothers, one of my mentors and big brothers, Muslim brothers, came to me and he said, look at the man's final statement. You got a final statement that you made before you die. And basically what he said was, Allah is going to be the ruler in any situation. Praise be to Allah. So if we're talking about the Bible Belt of Missouri, and we know how people feel about Muslim, especially in this time, then some of that played. So will we allow somebody's religious belief to be the reason why we just cover over the truth? Maybe it's their gender next time. Maybe it's the school that they go to. Maybe it's the state that they're in. So there's so many different dynamics to go with this situation. And like you said, it's very serious because the incarceration, whether it be through juvenile centers or whatever, is killing our children. And a part of the reason it's killing our children is because we don't know, we're not aware of this. Who wants to sit around and talk about prison? Who wants to sit around talking about electrocutions? I mean, not electrocutions, but executions. But these are real-time things happening. And if you look into the rap world to get this type of information, I mean, they'll give it to you one time. I got 12 songs and everything. I'm going to talk about the seriousness of this, but the rest of it is going to be geared toward, hey, man, do this type of stuff right here and don't just live your life the way you want to. Just be free. Shit, ain't nothing free about being in the penitentiary.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't nothing free about, like, the brother got it tattooed on his arm. It's like uhuru si huru, like freedom is not free.
Freedom is not free.
But let me get to these comments real quick.
Yes,
so let me see. The brother done said a whole lot of so first off, this is going back to what he said before. The money men hold the power, right? That's been evident. He was saying that the president is merely a puppet, but here's the one. So who do you think such executions actually satisfy? Right? It couldn't have been the family of the victim because they didn't want him to be executed.
Right.
So you can't say the family. And in any other circumstance, the family of the victim's voice rings the loudest. I don't understand why it didn't ring loud in this particular situation. So I'm struggling to understand who this execution actually satisfied.
Well, I will say, just to add to what you're saying, because it's very true. How is it that there are many times when the victim's impact statement, what the victim's family has to say, will keep you incarcerated longer? And this is something I know personally. One time while doing my bid in prison, I was passed by the parole board for 7 years based on one thing. The family's impact statement. They said, we're not ready for him to come out of prison. And they kept me in prison. for 7 extra years. So with that being the case, how is it, just like you're saying, how is it that the victim's family is saying, we're against this, we're not with this person? So great question. Who's been satisfied by this? And I'm saying, I believe, of course it's the governor, but there's a wicked hand that we don't pay attention to that has to stay in power at all times and the threat and the fear of death and violence. That's who really much, the money is great. Money is the power holder because it takes the money to buy the weapons, of mass destruction, whether it be over the military, whether it be putting the juice into execution chamber. I keep saying electrocution, but execution chamber, the money does that. But the biggest fear, the biggest threat, the biggest thing to even poverty or whatever the case may be, poverty is there too. But if I can tell you that I can take your life, see, whoever defines your God defines your life. Whoever defines what death is to you, if this is what death is, if I can define death for you or success for you, then I can be your killer any day of the week, and you might not even know that I'm your killer. So it's just a lot that goes into it.
So do you put any onus on the fact that like the brother said, the president is a puppet, but if the president is a puppet, then who is the governor? Right. So if the governor is if the president is supposed to be this top of the hierarchy, right, then the governors of the state, who are the president of the state, just like the mayor is the president of the city, these mayors and these governors are biting to the will of the president. So whoever the party is in power, or whoever the party is that's trying to come into power, they are the governors are subservient to them. So if I had to give my opinion, I would say that the party that was actually satisfied would be political parties. The political parties would be satisfied because it's showing, hey, us Republicans, we're tough on crime because we done killed 3 people in our state and we're not going to let these criminals. But to go to your original point, it's like, why is everything that happens to the black community criminalized? You know what I'm saying? We got to look at the history of, because we just didn't come to this nation talking about we about to commit crimes, we about to do this, we about to do that because we wanted to go to prison. Prisons was made because of us. Prisons was made so we would have somewhere to go after slavery. So we had to do something with them. We're not about to share our crops with them. We're not about to share none of this money with them. We got to have somewhere for them to go. And slavery is still an amendment in the Constitution. Slavery is not outlawed. It's I don't know who does not realize this, but slavery is not outlawed. Slavery is alive and well today, 2024, right?
Specifically for those who are duly convicted of crimes,
right? But what justifies a crime? Like, okay, so for example, and again, I got weird views. My perspective is kind of strange to people, but and I'm not saying go out and steal. I'm not saying go out and rob. I'm not saying go out and commit crimes. I'm completely against that. But what I'm saying is this: we were set up, and the options seemed limited for so long, right? To the point to where it's like I'm having a hard time. I've always had a hard time thinking that let me say this real simple. Is stealing from a thief theft? You know what I'm saying? Like to if somebody stole something from me, right? And then the person that stole something from me, somebody else stole something from them. The thing that they stole from me, somebody else stole from them. That's not theft. It's ironic as hell, but it's not theft. It's just irony. You know? You know what I'm saying? So it's like these folks been stealing for the last 600 years, from us. They done stole whole lives. They done stole whole civilizations. And then complaining about when something is stole from them, and I just have an issue with that.
I have no I have nothing. I mean, if you think about it, in my opinion, we love Robin Hood, but Robin Hood was a thief. So I
Robert
don't know how
Lee.
to even add that into this conversation.
But
But
he stole from the rich and gave to the poor. I don't
the
have a problem with Robin Hood.
the operative word is steal.
I don't. What is theft though?
He stole from.
Hey, to still in this perspective to me.
Yes, I get it.
Still is perspective based. You know what I'm saying? Like during Hurricane Katrina, they would show different like it was a family of black people that was riding in a raft, and they had all their worldly possessions inside their raft, and the news commentators was like, oh, look at this family, they probably done looted and this and that and none. So, and then a Caucasian family is riding down that same river in they same little raft, and they got all their worldly possessions. Like, look at that family. They just have everything they've ever owned, and they just lost everything. But when it was a black family, they was looting. Everything that they had in their little raft was loot from that they done stole from stores. And so it's perspective driven on each side. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, we gotta look at the cause of the criminalization though. You know what I'm saying? Hold up, let me get to the man. The brothers is hitting the comments. Let me see something.
It's one of my heroes.
Yes, sir. When we think critically about this, every single factor in this nation is governed by contract. Fact. Contracts are not governed by the Constitution of the United States. That being said, the Constitution is not the real supreme law of the land, if not what is. You already said it.
Follow the money.
You got to follow the money, but contracts, because that's all the Constitution is a contract. They called it a compact in that day. Right? It was a compact, but a compact is only a contract. But that's all the Constitution is a contract. All them John Hancocks that signed that joint made it a binding contract. You had all the elements that you need for a contract, you know, and all that was inside of the Constitution. So that's what I believe it is. But I completely agree with the brother that the Constitution is not the governing law of the land, you know, and anybody that goes and believes the Bill of Rights is giving you all these rights, say something about the president if you want to, if you believe that that you got freedom of speech. Say, I dare you. Say something negative about the president, like you're gonna do something to him. Watch you get locked. If speech was free, how come we got telephone bills? If we got freedom of speech, why? All right, I digress. The brother, oh man, hey, what's up, LZ? Impossible. Okay. What else the brother said? What it took was actually owned by the people taken for absolutely. That's kind of what I'm saying. You just said it. You said it plain. I said a lot of words. To permanently deprive. Absolutely. Who are the interested parties? So it's got to be an interested party in a contract. You know, I could tell somebody has studied the law in these comments. All right, but so
it's one of my heroes.
Yeah, real rap. All right, let's kind of shift a little bit. So we talked about the criminalization, right? So let's talk about the incarceration, right? So after you have been, you know, things that happen on a daily basis have been criminalized, you end up in prison, right? There are the mental, like people think that prison is this place to where, like you go through all these physical trials. what they don't realize is that prison is a place to where you have to be mentally and spiritually strong in order to survive the physical nature of it. Those who were not mentally and spiritually strong crumbled, you know. And even those that were actually physically strong had difficulties, you know. It's a struggle. So speak on the experience of the mental and spiritual nature of being incarcerated.
Well, one of the first things I believe, even when it's going through the trial process or even the plea bargaining process, just like with slavery, since we mentioned that, breaking the spirit is one of the very first things that has to happen. This is one of the things that's an objective and a goal, to break the spirit, because it's difficult for you to reprogram my mind. And there's many times that it could go the other way. Your mind could be reprogrammed for you to be able to break your spirit yourself. But everything from the dehumanization parts is being pat search, strip search, you know, having handcuffs on to others is dehumanizing. I mean, the whole process is set up in order to break your spirit. Now, please understand this as well. We know that, you know, there has to be sometimes harsh tactics to deal with those who are criminal. But then you have to realize and define what is a criminal versus a person who does crime. Because sometimes people do crimes out of necessity. Sometimes people do crimes out of not knowing. Sometimes, as you say, the socioeconomic system is so messed up. I have to do this in order for me to survive. This is the things that I have to do. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, we know that selling drugs is not a good thing at all. But some guys were put in a position where selling drugs is the only way they could feed their family. Right. And I ain't talking about the ballers. I'm talking about the dudes that step out, get what they got to get, and get back in. Right. Because of the way the social economic system has been messed up in the educational system. So first of all, when we're talking about breaking the spirits, that's one of the things that must be done for that program to work for them. So with the spirit being messed up, of course, that's going to deal with your mentality. It's going to deal with your mental. You got a broken spirit. You're going to do anything to try to find some kind of intestinal fortitude to be able to make it through that situation. And so since we're thinking from the street perspective that men can't cry, men shouldn't seek mental health, men shouldn't reach out to their homies and hug them and cry to tell them what's going on, we have to deal with that. And that in and of itself, not being able to express yourself spiritually, emotionally, not being able to do those two things because you got to be hard. The persona has to be hard. That in and of itself can mess you up. You know, I got to put up this persona that I'm hard. I've seen many gangsters. I'm talking about killers, dudes that'll take your life at the stab of the hat, cry in the shower so nobody can see their tears. So this is a very psychological situation that they don't tell you about in rap music, that they don't tell you. And please understand, I'm not bashing. I love rap music. I love it. But to be able to watch how it went from one perspective and how it was a celebratory thing where we're having a good time, loving each other, expressing our culture in a great way, and then to go to nothing but a bunch of bull crap all day long. And please, this is not a takeaway from anybody's art. It's not. But I have to tie these two in. When we talk about the school to prison pipeline, and then you go into the school, and one of the greatest escapes that the school people have is rap music. This is how I escape. This is how I express myself. These people are the people I relate most to. Then I have to put indictment on some of the rappers as well, man, again. Because if you're sending the very same system we're talking about that's been built to take us, to make crime a black face, put a black face on criminality, if we're promoting that same type of stuff, how can we sit back and say, you know, hey, look how they're doing us, look how they're dogging us. So I don't like to keep on going back to that situation like there, but serious business. If you're asking me about spirit, what is it in the music? What is in the entertainment? What is it in even the religion sometimes that's helping me to build my spirit? What is there? And prison is designed to take that away.
So while I agree with you in part on the music thing and the fact that they don't talk about, well, after you pull your 2 Glocks out, after you pull your 2 switches out, after you shoot everybody that you didn't intend to shoot, after all them is dead and you go to the penitentiary and that door closes, you can't get out. Like they don't just open it when you start crying. They don't just open it because you say you ready to go and you didn't mean to kill all them people. You know, right. You had 200 bullets that could shoot in a second. So, you know, why wouldn't nobody think? But my thing is this. Most of the dudes that's making these songs ain't never been to prison. They don't know the after effects. You know what I'm saying? And the unfortunate part is this: while they've never been to prison, all their homies is there. You know, right. Because they ain't already unfortunately fell victim to it, to where it's like, if you got 3 dudes that was clicked up, and 2 of them go to prison, right? The third one take a minute, right? Because he rapping, but he rapping about all this stuff that they used to do, you know. But he ain't never been to prison, so he's rapping about what his boys did. He's rapping about his boys being in prison, right? So when he's talking about prison, that's all he's talking about is, my God, when he went down, he didn't rap this and that and other, so right. But then when he gets there, his partners is like, bro, what took you so long? You know, they rapping about things that they don't know about, but you know, but I can't completely criminalize the music just because, you know, if that's the case, then we need to criminalize movies. We need to criminalize video games. We need to criminalize all of that, you know, because if it's rap music, then the one thing that these kids do, and I believe more than listen to rap music, is play video games. Right. And all these video games that they play, they killing something, you know? Right. So they getting desensitized to killing at 6. I sat up and watched. This is a true story. A little comedic, but still true. I watched 2 6-year-olds play Call of Duty, right? And they was playing some head-to-head battle, and one of them was convincing the other one that they was on teams. They was not. And the one that was trying to convince the other one that they was on teams kept creeping up behind him and shooting him in the head. And he kept convincing, he was like, oh no, that was an accident. We really on teams. He did that 7 times in a row. He fell for it 7 times in a row. It took that 8th time to where he was like, you know what? You the one that keep killing me. I'm gonna shoot back, you know? And so they learning not just to be conniving with what they're doing on these games at a young age. If they start shooting when they 6, by the time they become 16, they want to get the real thing, you know? Now, I'm not saying that these kids is slow to where they don't, I can't put on it that they slow and don't understand that this ain't a video game. You can't hit reset if you pull this trigger and it aims at and goes through the body cavity of another human being. This person ain't coming back when you hit reset. They don't got another, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no reset of the game. And then this person just magically comes back. It's not like that. And I don't believe that these kids believe that it is like that, but it does, in my opinion, desensitize them. So if we're gonna criminalize rap music, we gotta criminalize all of the R-rated movies as well as all of the it all got to be criminalized at that point.
The culture is criminal. I mean, you talk about the 9 areas of human activity. Each and every one of them 9 areas has some kind of criminality to it. And again, as our brother keeps telling us about the commerce, talking about the money, this is one of the major problems, because everything is about currency, commerce. It's all about the making the dollars. So
every single one.
If you put profits over people, you had no other choice but to do that, because I will kill you over my money. And that's a terrible thing to say, you know, but that's real.
Who in this country, as far as the, like he said, when you follow the money, right?
Follow the money.
When you follow the money, the ones that are in charge of the money is the people that is in charge of the content, you know? And if they're in charge of content because they got the money, then what they say go.
Yeah, of course.
Hold on, what Michael say? That's one of the main subjects I've had with many. It comes to a point where you have to speak the truth and to promote our own demise. I once was part of that. I mean, hey, unfortunately, you're not the only one that was part of it. Like, I unfortunately have to take responsibility for the fact that because of gang-related activities, I have helped to destroy a whole generation, which is why I am such a proponent in the community, which is why I, do all I can for the generation coming up right now, because I got to fix it in some small way. I got to fix it. I'm not going there.
Man, trying to get the bro shut down.
I'm not going there. Yes, I am. I am too.
I'm not. Click me off now.
I am. Screw them. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the truth does not need an explanation. So all you got to do is follow the menorah. I'm just saying. Look at who owns the majority of the record companies, who owns the majority of the film industries, right? I'm just saying. I won't say them by name. You can breathe now. It's over. But it's true. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ice Cube done said it. A whole lot of the rappers done said it. That Eazy-E was he found out too late. But Ice Cube, Dre, everybody done said it. So I think most recently Kanye been out there pumping it. And a lot of times people don't know whether that brother is high, sober, or not. But it's like there's times that it's times that he is poignant, and it's time that he sounds idiotic. So you just got to catch him on the poignant days.
Let me finish on that one question that you asked about those spiritual mental and how it translates, because I want to take it. One of the other things you said was about re-entry and how these things work together. First of all, one of the things is we have some mental issues prior to getting into the streets, based on the treatment of us prior to however far back you want to go. So then to get in the streets, there's a certain mentality. See, for those that are outside and not heavy duty and really deep into the streets, they're just looking at it as like, from the sidelines. To be in the streets that heavily and deep, whatever your hustle may be, that takes a type of mentality itself. And sometimes that mentality don't come from really who you are. It's a persona, again, that you got to put on to be out there getting it like that, right?
It's representative.
So you got that. So then you come into the system that's telling you that thing that you have built for yourself is no good, and we're going to punish you for that. Not truly knowing who the real person that you really are, because you might not even know yourself who that real person is. Then you go through that process, and now it's time for you to do the time inside of that time based on, everybody, I don't care how good your clean your record is when you're in prison. Everybody, we've seen some of the most, religified, clean, white glove wearing dudes. When you're in prison, you're a suspect at all times.
Yes, sir.
You are a suspect at all times. I don't care if you was in there for singing in the choir, singing tenor when you should have been singing bass, or singing bass when you should have been singing. When you're in prison, you are always a suspect. So, and even those guys that go 10, 12 years to stay out of trouble or are squeaky clean, when they do the smallest of things, the first thing they say, we knew it. We knew
the whole time. We knew it. He was just faking.
On it. We knew you was good. And there are even men who stay out of trouble for a long time and go to the parole board, as you know, and the parole board and say, well, you're doing good and everything, but we think they're just being so manipulative that you just figured out a way to beat the system, and that's why you haven't gotten in trouble in a long time. So the whole time you're in prison, you have to deal with the stigma of being a suspect. I'm always criminalized just because of the fact of where I am. You hear people always say, officers, well, these people are in here for something. And we are in there for something, but when do you get a chance to change opportunities? Okay, so now you go out to the outside. I'm 127 days of being released from prison after 35.5 years. So with that being the case, some of the transition of the persona that you had to put on when you come to the streets, of course, you want to lose that, especially after doing 10, 15, 20 years. You don't want to live that way no more. So really society is, you really can't tell how they're looking at you because they were looking at you a particular way from the time you were born. And that doesn't change when you come to prison. It might exemplify it a little bit more, but it's still jacked up anyway. So one of the things, like the man is saying about this thing of being about currency, when you're doing reentry, the major thing that they teach you about reentry is how to keep a job, how to get a job, how to work for the people to make sure that you have money to pay your bills and rent. Period. When I got out of prison, they gave me a guy who got me the resource to get me a job, to get some money, because you're coming out of prison, you need money to do things in real life. Money, currency. But the psychological effects of the damage of going through that situation, they don't sentence you to mental health when you get out. They don't send you to get some kind of psychological evaluation to get out. They may want to say, well, we think you're suitable enough, we're going to let you out. But what happens when you get out into this world and you look around and you don't remember any of the stuff? Hey, born and raised in Kansas City, lived there for 19 full years. You get out and see different things where, hey, I used to go there and have a good time. It's gone. I used to go to this church in order to give it's gone. To see stuff like that and to see your people get to move around, those are small things. The psychological effects of being in prison for a long time and not having that treatment dealt with. Again, for instance, you go to prison and you're deemed as an animal. You go through prison and you're deemed as an animal. Then you don't do anything to help me with dealing with my animal issues, and you put me on the streets and you don't want me to be anything other than an animal. Right. So now that I'm out here, I'm trying to deal with my animalistic titles that's been given to me. Now I'm out here and I see that things have changed so much. I don't want to go back to what happened before when things were changing and I started to do criminal stuff. I don't want to do that because I don't want to go back there after all this year. So now I have to deal with the psychological trauma of being in that experience. See, another thing about us going to prison, we don't realize that to be going from a life of freedom, however long you was out there, and to go being in captivity, that causes trauma. Even if you did the crime, people have a thing to think that if you're a mass murderer and you go to prison, that doesn't affect you because you committed a crime. So it shouldn't affect you psychologically. Crazy. Now I'm out here in a world that I love to be in. Don't get me wrong. Much rather be here than there. We know that. But just yesterday, as I was telling you, I went into in Raytown, Missouri, a very small, this big, a very small post office to deliver a package. To send a package away. Going in there to put a simple card in to pay for the tag, I put it in. It didn't say anything, so I pulled it out. Then it said, "Don't take your card out." So I put it back in. And so we go through this whole situation. I'm looking at there's people behind me that are trying to get their packages. I'm trying to, in my mind, everybody's mad at me because I'm having issues with this card that I just learned how to use less than 120 days ago. I don't know how to use it, so I'm using this. So all this stuff is going into my mind that these people are paying attention to me, ready to bust me in the back of my head, when all along, it was the fact that I pulled it out early. And so when I put it back in the second time, when the lady saw that I was having difficulty with this, she talked me through the process, which was simple for everybody else that's been out here. But to me, that caused great trauma. I begin to sweat. I don't know what to do. So what do I do now? Do I take off running? Who do I call? Where's the hotline? I can't call mental health and say, hey, but then they say, well, that's really not no big deal. I mean, you just had little problems, little hang up at the damn post office. But every man that comes out of doing prison, if he's only done a year, there are things that have changed. And if you're not keeping up with technology, if you're not keeping up or you're not studying while you're in there, you're going to have some major problems. And the system never does care about that because of the fact that, like he's saying, they was getting in the state of Kansas, they was getting $36,000 a year for housing me every year. Why would they not want me to come back to prison to get that $36,000? That's like a drug. That's like a drug dealer telling a drug addict, hey, man, I'm going to sell you this drug today, but I'm going to need you to go to rehab tomorrow. I got this rehab center set up for you. I'm going to give you drugs, but you need to go to rehab. What drug dealers is out there to make money to do that?
I completely agree. That, I mean, the thing that people really need to realize too, in addition to what you said, business is built on supply and demand. You know what I'm saying? Yes, and so if you want to continue the demand that we're getting all this currency from all these bodies, because I remember in Leavenworth they built that one prison and it about got shut down because they had a contract with the city talking about, y'all said that y'all was gonna keep this mug 80% filled at all times,
right?
And it was clearing out, and nobody was going inside of that facility, and they was losing money, and so they start policing up, over policing, and sending people in there, and so it is about the currency. But the there was a comment. Who made it? So it was a sister that made the comment. Educate and empower the mothers so they can pass that on to our future leaders, the sons and the daughters, right? So what is it that we can or how is it that we can educate? Because here's the thing, and this goes clear back to slavery, like once they tear the man down, they're tearing the man down so that the woman doesn't have anybody to look up to, because they, like, the powers that be, know that the women are looking to us to protect them. The women are looking to us to guide them, right? And to point them in the right direction. But if they don't trust the man, or if the man is not there because he done got ripped in force, because he's been sent away, because he's been killed, then this is teaching the women, see, told you he can't protect you. Look at what we did to him. Mm-hmm. We sent him away. He can't do nothing for you now. Now what? How do we empower? How do we educate the women so that they can pass on the right thing to the seeds and not the wrong thing, so they can empower so they can educate and empower wolves and not sheep?
Well, the first thing I understand is we got to respect womanhood as a whole. We don't respect womanhood as a whole. So how could you respect one woman? How can one mother? So you have to respect women. We have to stop objectifying. There's so many things we must stop do before we can start to educate and empower them. So that means on us. We got to stop. Hey, when I see you walking down the street and your booty's hanging out, instead of me saying, woo, woo, I need to say, sister, respect yourself and put some pants on. Because the very guys that you attract and everything, they're looking at you as a body. They don't care about what's going on between your ears, your mind. They don't care about that. They don't care about even what's going on between your shoulders, your heart. One thing they care about is what's going on between your legs. And if that's what you want to promote, then that's fine. But how can you sit back and say we love the children when the men dominate and dog out the women, which are the mothers, which are the first teachers of the children, and the women on top of that are saying, listen, my whole life has to be built upon my beauty and my ability to pull these men. And then the men that you get, you're not even getting the men that will support the children. We're just getting a bunch of men because they got, whatever it is that they got. Again, back to the currency.
Okay, so so with the understanding that there are women who don't know their worth, what I'm saying? And there are men that don't know their value, right?
Without
Let's set that aside. Cool. What about the men that are emotionally intelligent and have a high EQ? What about the women who are very good communicators and are presenting themselves in a way that they should be respected? Those are the ones that's going to create the wolves, Those are the ones that's going to create the ones that can protect themselves and then protect the future of everybody else, and not implant that sheeple mentality. Right. You know what I'm saying? Those are the women that I'm talking about. Those are the women that need to be educated and empowered. And those are the women that I believe that sister was talking about. Right. The ones that are actually out here and are actually capable of producing offspring, but don't have the education to teach them because they're lacking the education from the man.
The best of us have to help the rest of us. So the women that you're talking about and the men that you're talking about, again, we as a people have no institutions. We don't have no schools that really do that. So being the very first question you asked me on the original podcast was, what would you do if you had an opportunity to do anything and could do that? So I'm saying build a school. So we have to start with building something where all of us can come together. And of course, I shouldn't use the word all because all of us will never will. But if we got like-minded individuals that's doing their own thing, a whole bunch of different places, that's not helping us as a culture or as a community. So we need to have to start building stuff with that instead of those well-educated ones doing it just to raise their families. They need to reach out to other families. This is what we're doing over here. Instead of just being a family reunion, we need to have community reunions. We need to have groups of people that's coming together and saying, hey, this is what's happening. This is what we're doing as a community. So I guess like empowerment, It's like reciprocity. It's like reciprocal. The more you empowered, synergy, and you synergize with other people that's empowered, then that creates more power. So we just got to
I
come
mean,
together better.
I completely agree with that. It's like, in AAO, it goes towards the family, community, nation, and race. You know what I'm saying? So I completely agree with that. Hey, bro, hey, don't do that, cause I'll go there. I will go there. I ain't got. You know what? That's gonna be a whole nother episode, because anybody that's ever watched me, anybody that's ever watched my podcast will tell you that one of my lifelong dreams is to have my own school.
Right.
I want my own school. I've had students that I've had over the years tell me that they would love to go to my school. They would be like, man, we know your school is going to be hard. We know it's going to be challenging, but we know you love us. We know you care about us. And we know that we going to have fun, because it's, I'm going to get into that at a later date. I'm definitely going to get into that at a later date. All right. So, we done ran. So what I'm gonna do on another show, we gonna start another show with the effects of post incarceration. What are some of the effective reforms and solutions to address the issues of mass incarceration, racial profiling, and things of that nature? What are some of the things that we can do to decriminalize some of the things that have been criminalized, and talk about post release, as well as, like you was talking about, the lack of mental health, facilities that's going to help you with that animalization. If you've been incarcerated for 35 years and you've been out less than 200 days, I don't know what you know what I'm saying. Like, if you wasn't doing your own shadow work, it's gonna be a wrap. Right. And like you said, and like the brother keeps saying, like he keeps alluding to, they need that money. They don't want you to work on you. They don't want you to work on you being better. They want you to work on you being a better criminal. Right. So, but we definitely gonna get into that on another episode, be it next week or on a future date when you and some of the other fellas are available. But until then, hey, if you want to be a guest on Unfiltered and Unscripted on Notoriously Opinionated, hit me up in the comments. I read all of them. The most likely tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie and say tonight. That's not true. I'm not gonna read them tonight. So hit me up in the comments if you want to be a guest on Unscripted, Unfiltered on Notoriously Opinionated, and let me know what your topic is. If you want to chime in. Now, the brother needed to be on the show tonight. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna call him.
You know what I'm saying? You need, hey, bro, you need to send me your email address so I can get you on the pod. All these comments, we need to hear your voice. Get it in, tap in. So let's build something. You know what I'm saying? We can talk about these schools. We can talk about what it's not going to be a curriculum, though, because a curriculum, you got to go through KCPS. So, but we going to get it in. We going to get it right, So anybody want to be a guest on Notoriously Opinionated, man, hit me up, and we're gonna make that happen. If this topic right here is not something that's your cup of tea, I get it, you like it sweet, and so send me the topic that you want to rap about, and we'll hit it. A little content.
Promote your Tuta brother.
Promote your Tuta.
And what he's saying is the struggle continues, but together we win. There it is.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
So until next time, man, this has been your man of many names and monikers, And until next time, man, I need everybody think about some of the things that we was talking about. You know, it goes deeper than what you might think. And whether you agree with our notorious opinions or not, come up with your own. Don't just I would tell people all the time when I would do a SOMO, don't believe nothing I say. Don't believe not one word that comes out of my mouth. Research it for yourself, right? Come up with your own understanding and then tell me how right I was later on. But until next time, man, this has been your man of many names and letters, and we are out until next Wednesday. Same notorious time, same notorious station. Peace.